Good afternoon. Today is Friday, the 29th of September, 2023, just after 1 o'clock. Welcome to UK Column News. I'm your host today, Brian Gerrish. I'm delighted to be joined by two ladies. We've got Debbie Evans, our very own nursing correspondent, and we're also delighted to have Sandy Adams with us. Now, today we're having a little bit of a focus on the environment. It's very clear that the false agenda of climate change is being used to drive a huge number of policies, and those policies in turn are having a great effect on people's lives. So in today's news, we're going to have a look at some of the ways that this works, and hopefully this will give our audience the opportunity to get into their own research and make up their own opinions on exactly what's happening. But Debbie, we're going to kick off with yourself and intelligent cities, which of course is a strong theme, links into global cities, but we've also touched on this subject with correspondent Mark Anderson. Over to you.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. And of course, language is so important, isn't it? And thanks to people like Sandy, we've all become quite familiar with the term smart cities. But have a check out of intelligent cities, because we also have the Intelligent Cities Challenge that's come straight from the European Commission. Now, this is an EU initiative, and it's basically looking at green deals, cutting edge technologies, social resilience. But what does that actually mean? So when you go and look at the European Intelligence Challenge 2023 to 2025, you can see who's actually been selected. So I've just done a couple of screenshots for everybody that's watching that's in Europe. The next couple of screenshots may include your city. So we're looking at 64 core cities throughout 17 EU countries. Is your country listed here? Some of the ones that you will be familiar with, obviously, are Cork, Galway, Ibiza, Benidorm, Nicosia, Corfu. And here's some more on the next slide as well, just in case this is one of your cities. So we've got Tripoli, Valongo in Portugal. But not to be outdone, the UK is fast catching up. So the UK Gov launched just this month the smart tech to be trialled in towns and cities. This is going to be launched with £4 million of funding to boost local connectivity. This is basically street lamps and all singing, all dancing street lamps that are going to be able to charge your EVs. They're going to be able to boost your wireless connectivity. And of course, they're going to be able to track you and trace you. So let's have a look at an article from Computer Weekly that talks about the UK towns and cities gaining funding to trial this smart connectivity. And we really are looking at multi-purpose. I call them spies on pillars, actually. It seems to be lampposts on pillars. So let's have a look and see where this is going to be piloted in the UK. And you can see there that if you're living in the authorities, Cambridgeshire County Council, Tees Valley Combined Authority, Royal Borough of Kingston upon Thames, Westminster City Council, Oxfordshire County Council, and North Ayrshire Council, you are going to be getting this system very soon rolled out. So all of these smart lampposts that can pretty much track you and trace you and are spies. And just to end the Intelligent City section here, a couple of slides on a city you may not have heard of. This is Telosa, and this is going to be creating a new city in America. Now, this is a proposed utopia from a chap called Mark Law. He's a US billionaire. He's the former Walmart president. Telosa in Greek, by the way, means purpose. And you can see there from that slide that we're looking at the population as being 1 million in the next 5 years, but jumping up to 40 million. So these smart cities are being proposed everywhere. In the middle of that slide, the tower that you could see was the Equitism Tower, which is meant to be the beacon of light.
Well, Debbie, thank you very much for that. Well, your city or your new city with all of that wonderful or maybe not so wonderful architecture reminded me of Neom in the Middle East. If you haven't seen the UK discussion on that, have a look on the UK Column website. But this is the linear city, which is supposedly going to be the place to live if it's ever built. Well, let's just have a look at a report that came in on the BBC, and it was about the government delaying new environmental building rules. Now, this seemed unusual, that we've had a lot of hype about everything being environmentally friendly, and that corporations are going to do their best to save the planet. So my attention was caught by this report, and what it said was the government is delaying putting into effect new environmental laws, forcing developers to improve countryside and wildlife habitats. And this is to do with biodiversity net gain. And if I look at another bit here, we've got this, that the net gain policy was approved as part of the 2021 Environment Act. And the rules are designed to ensure developers leave the natural environment in a measurably better state than it was beforehand. So on top of the costs of a project, developers are going to be asked to contribute to improving the environment. That sounds good, but is it? Now, my eye was caught by the UK Green Building Council, which said it was an industry body promoting sustainable development. The BBC, of course, just popped this in, but I decided to have a little look about what this was really about. It said it was the voice of our sustainable built environment, and it said it's a membership-led industry network radically transforming the sustainability of the built environment, powered by 700 plus members, and it's at the forefront of positively influencing policy, identifying pathways to propel the sector forward sustainably, and driving the solutions to transform our buildings, communities, cities, and infrastructure. So it all sounds wonderful, but is it? And if we drill down into it, the first thing I thought we'd have a look at is, of course, people. And a key question for me is always these sorts of questions. Who are these people? What's their real agenda? And should we trust their motives? I decided just to focus on two. So I've got Sunand Prasad here, who's the chair. And I also picked up on this lady, Victoria Quinlan, President Europe of Cortland. Now, we've got a short video clip of the chairman, Sunand Prasad, speaking. Let's have a look at this clip.
SMART is joining up or integrating packages of economic, social, and technological measures so that they work together. For example, planning development or writing development guidance to take into account infrastructure development and its consequences, such as the impact of increased property values, for example, can be factored into development and forward projections. SMART, that's number one. SMART is selecting and scaling programs appropriate to each city and town. One thing that has emerged recently is just, especially in the UK, through the work of the Centre for Cities, of whom I am a trustee, and Tony chairs the research panel, or has done, is how different cities are from each other, and how the idea that they can all converge to similar levels of growth and so on is not really tenable. And have a look at the Centre for Cities City Facts app, which actually helps you to understand the differences between UK cities in great detail. And it's these differences and this adaptation of measures to actually the scale and the opportunities really in the city is what I would call SMART. In some places, for example, you would actually suggest that there'll be zero growth. But rather than lament the zero growth, how do we deal with that? Now, that would be SMART. SMART is joining up with other cities so that the learning spreads. This beautiful graphic, by the way, is a diagram of worldwide internet connections. You can just about see the world emerging underneath that. So some organizations fear, not so much cities necessarily, the idea of sharing too much information on grounds of competitiveness. But that era of hoarding intellectual property is surely over. And I think one of the features of the smart city will be open data, open sharing of data in this way, but actually it does come with a caution, and I think it requires a kind of a citizenry that is able to properly use it.
Well, there we are. Should we trust that man? I mean, he's very measured. He comes across in a very nice way. But of course, ultimately, all of the policy is global. Now, in that speech, he did mention the Centre for Cities. And if we just pop that up on screen, What we should be looking for here is who's involved in that. Well, the Wellcome Trust is a very powerful organisation that's fully involved, but we've got local authorities, chief executives, we've got Royal Mail who are interested in data, and we've also got the Chief of Staff of Lord Sainsbury involved. So once again, this is the great and good. We're not too sure what they're up to, but if we come back to our look at other big players, we mentioned this lady. Now, the company is Cortland, and Victoria here is appointed as a new president. So let's have a look at what she's really involved in. Basically, Cortland is a UK-based platform which covers build-to-rent development and management, block management, and build-to-rent consultancy. And she's going to be really working alongside the US team to develop and lead the strategy for the growth of the company across Europe, with a goal of bringing Cortland's resident-centric multifamily living across the Atlantic to ensure a better living experience. So the BBC in its article doesn't mention any of this. It just drops in the names of the organisations, and we, the public, should apparently trust these people because really they just want to make a better world. Well, they do want to make a bit of profit on the side, of course. So if I add a bit more to this, here's Meet Cortland from their website. And it says when it was founded, you can obviously go and read this yourself, but founded in 2005, Atlanta, Georgia. And in 2017, they saw the opportunity to elevate the apartment living experience in UK. So this is nothing about helping the planet. This is about powerful corporations coming in order to build buildings for us to rent. We will own nothing, but we'll be happy. So if we give you a quote from Victoria Quinlan herself, I'm delighted to be joining Cortland during this exciting growth phase of its European platform. Cortland's unrivaled reputation and experience in the US, combined with a host of incredible opportunity and a talented team in the UK and Ireland, make this the perfect moment to further enhance a, quote, market-leading building. So the real agenda, it seems to me, is actually to penetrate the UK market to enhance business and profits. But this is not the only company in the background. We've got Argent bringing together some of Britain's most successful mixed-use places and innovative, prolific real estate companies in the US. So this is selling off Britain to developers. It's nothing about protecting the environment. We've got this gentleman who's in the background, Jerome Frost, OBA, Arab chairman. And if we have a little look at his track record, we quickly see that he's involved as a global cities leader. And so we know that he's involved in the global program, and he leads the company's global community engagement program. And it says there, of course, again, he's a trustee of the UK Green Building Council. So the BBC doesn't mention this at all, but it takes the UK column to bring this forward. And this is another organisation connected to all this, the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, bringing together transformational organisations to form a global community. Let's just have a look at their video clip. So if you were just listening into the UK, or you are just listening into the UK Column News today, I'll just say a very glossy video. What is it to do with big business, ultimately big profits? But we're also going to have a mindset change, transformation, and these business organizations are going to lead us into the new world, or so they hope. Let's bring in Sandy Adams here, because Sandy, you're really going to take the audience through what's happening on the ground in UK, and some of it is pretty astonishing. So welcome to UK Column News.
Thank you very much, Brian. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Okay, well, the first thing that you pointed us to was Department for Energy Security and Net Zero. And I've got to say that I hadn't actually picked up that we now had a Department for Net Zero, but we know where that's going to head. And what you're pointing people to here is how to see what is coming. So this graphic that we've got on screen is a map of UK, and the little dots indicate various things that are going on. So, for example, if they are a light coloured purple, we've got everything from batteries to shoreline wave or small hydro schemes. And then we've got a lot of it, which is solar voltaics and landfill gas. Your point here, Sandy, was that when you look at these dots clustered all over UK, we should be asking ourselves, where is the farmland?
Exactly, and this is the big question. I mean, we've just celebrated our Harvest Festival in Somerset, well, all over the world. You know, and where will the harvest be in the future? Because we have most of the farmland at the moment seems to be given over to renewable energy, either solar panels, big photovoltaic fields full of photovoltaic. We've got wind farms. We've got housing, these houses that no one will ever own. The banks will own them. And there's floodplain management. So I took that down really to Somerset and also looking at the mapping there, because it's quite frightening when you realise that I've spoken to local farmers as well. And what's happening is the land is all being given over to solar panels. There's no room for crops or